Hey, Ranger, move me around.
Okay. Hey, toy fans! Kyle here, and today I am back out of my crippling depression because we have new Power Ranger toys to talk about. And this, of course, is the first ever Hasbro Morpher, which, of course, is somewhat based off of the Buster Brace, even though it's like a completely different toy from the ground up, apart from it just looking like the Buster Brace. So let's get into this review by taking a look at the packaging. I'm very happy that there's no more of that kind of awkward Bandai card back but open packaging where people could just fiddle around and play with the entire toy. I do like having a full box, and this is a sizable box. In fact, there's quite a lot of dead space in there. It's about the size of a cereal box, maybe a little smaller. I do like this very illustrated sort of vector line art looking representation of the Red Ranger. Then you've got the new Power Rangers logo, Beast Morpher, again, no more DX. You got some of the quotes, it's morphin' time, but there's no apostrophe right after morphin'. Conspiracy, I think that morphin' with apostrophe is still licensed to Bandai. Not really. But Rangers, it's go time! And then on the back you have, again, it's morphin' time. Rangers, it's go time, and of course when you activate the build driver mode, you insert the key, it'll say, Moto, Cheetah, best match, are you ready? And then you, of course, activate the Morpher. That's one of the hidden modes on this Morpher. Apparently, it's saying it's Morphin' time is also a hidden mode because some people are getting these Morphers and they're not actually working. I hope this one works, but after that intro, I wouldn't be surprised if it didn't work. Anyway, I've spent over 2 minutes talking about a box and rambling. Let's open this toy up and let's take a look at the Beast X Morpher. But I also kind of realized that I don't have any cutting utensils. And there's like these thick strings and this thing out there. So, get through all these. Ah, yes. Alright, well, I guess I start talking now, right? So, here we are with the Power Rangers Beast Morpher, Beast X Morpher. And before we get into this video review, do me a favor, go ahead, dingle that bell button, get the latest notifications. Of course, be sure to subscribe right down there for the latest toy reviews. I really appreciate that a lot, and don't forget to hit that like button. Now, let's get into the meat and the potatoes of this toy right here. The Beast X Morpher, the first ever Power Rangers, I guess I should say DX toy released by them, since the Zords are not coming out until later this year. And at first glance, it looks really nice. Unlike what we're used to with Bandai America, there are no missing paint apps. It's actually slightly larger than the Japanese version. I'm going to do a whole comparison video in a different video, but you can see right here, slightly larger American version. There are obvious differences, but nothing too drastic, nothing too crazy. And of course, this Morpher does come included with the Triple X Morph Key. Well, what is the Triple X Morph Key? Well, what is a single X Morph Key? What is a Morph X Key to begin with? Well, this toy, apart from looking exactly the same as the Buster Brace from Go Busters, it's almost an entirely different play pattern than what they used in Go Busters. They literally redesigned it from the ground up. We now have this combination hybrid turbo changer slash legendary Morpher with the looks and the sexy aesthetic of Go Busters, all combined into this end result. So, how does it work? What do you do? How do you play with it? It's very, very interesting. There are sort of levels of play with this. And it seems like each toy in the toy line so far comes with their own individual key that you actually insert into the top right here with the help of these guided rails. And that's how it kind of gets that legendary Morpher. You now have keys, and when you insert it, you get a quote, you'll get a roll call. So, to turn it on, there's just a button on the side. You do have 2 modes in total, well, 3 counting off, so off right now. One little notch right there will turn it into Try Me mode, where you just hit this button and it'll light up.
Hey, Ranger, move me around.
And then you get the punch sounds.
Hey, Ranger, move me around. It's morphin' time!
And a series of quotes, pretty generic quotes. And then when you hit it over to 2, to level 2, you still get those sounds. But this is now the actual play mode.
It's morphin' time! It's morphin' time! Let's go! Rangers, it's go time!
And of course, you'll get the same basic quotes, and you can still get that sort of swinging, swishing sounds whenever you're fighting with it, to make it sound like you're hitting things and whatnot. But from here, we can now actually morph. And let me get that in focus. Yeah, so here we can actually morph. And the way to morph is you hit this red button right up there.
Are you ready? Say it's morphin' time!
It's morphin' time! And then the music stops, and now we are morphed, and you'll notice the sound effects sound a little more energized, a little more powerful. And a little more, like, interesting, but you still kind of get little punches in there every now and then. One downside to this toy is once you morph, you can't morph anymore. So you literally have to turn the toy off and then turn it on again to morph again.
Are you ready?
That's just to morph. Of course, there's the whole gimmick of the keys. And each of these keys, the only full key that I think we get here is Devin's key. And then the green key is a generic villain's key where you'll get kind of various quotes from Blaze and, of course, other villains. And the orange key is kind of like a generic Try Me key. I haven't figured out what the purpose of this key is exactly. Based on my playtime with it, it feels pointless that this was included. And all in all, I'm actually not a fan of this whole triple key thing. It feels very cheap. This plastic part right there, it has a shampoo bottle plastic feel, so like if you're trying to move all of the keys at the same time, you're just going to end up bending it like that. You literally have to do one at a time. And me, I like to cut corners. I like to be lazy. That doesn't work for me. I want something, you know, that's going to be able to put up with my laziness. Yeah, and then from there, we can summon the Rangers. So the only actual Ranger that we can summon and get a roll call from is Devin's, the Red Ranger. So when we turn that on, we're just going to take the key. Be sure to keep these guides right there lined up with this groove right there. That'll just slide in. And usually it's supposed to make a sound. Let me try that again. And you do get a deactivation sound, which I like.
Cheetah Beast Power, red!
And you get the roll call, Cheetah Beast Power, red.
Let's go for a spin, Cruz! Cheetah Beast Power, red! Rangers, it's go time!
And now we're getting Devin's quotes. And now we have the sound of Devin swinging around his saber. And you can hear the metallic swish. And now we can morph. So when you do that...
Are you ready? Say it's morphin' time!
It is time to morph right now. Yeah. And we get the LEDs, something I haven't even mentioned yet. These LEDs look really nice. And of course now we have the sort of Beast X mode, where we get those sort of wishy, electronic sounding swishes and whatnot. I really like the LEDs, something I didn't mention. The Japanese version only has one little LED on this side, where here we've got Here we've got
Hey, Ranger, move me around.
the 6 LEDs right there, and of course 1 LED right there. 7 LEDs, and it's very bright
It's morphin' time.
and very vibrant. I quite like that. The other keys, of course, are Blaze's keys, or the villain key, I should say. And when you put that in, you get a couple extra quotes.
I'm not a real human. I'm much better. I'm the better Red Ranger. I'm not a real human. I'm much better.
And now it sounds like the Morpher is hacked. So the speaker, its volume is lowered, and it has kind of like a fuzziness to it that make it actually sound like the speaker is physically broken. And you can morph, of course, as a villain.
Are you ready? Say it's morphin' time.
Morphing time is now. And you have those Beast X mode sound effects that are now, of course, have that glitchy sort of overlay to them and whatnot. I don't even know if the yellow key or the orange key is worth looking at, but I'll just do it just for fun.
Defenders of the grid, it's morphin' time. Let's go. Rangers, it's go time.
And you just get that generic sound effects. Yeah, that's pretty much it in terms of the Morpher itself. Again, it looks good. There are some differences. I'm going to do a whole comparison video and a different video. But what are my thoughts? Well, here are my thoughts. I think it's solid, for sure. It's definitely a solid first entry. There are certain things that kind of feel jank about it. For example, the quality of the XXX key is pretty bad. When you insert the keys, it feels like if you were to put it in the wrong way, right now, without care, it's stuck. And that could seriously damage the readers in there. So every time you put it in, you really have to be careful, and you have to make sure that the grooves are lined up, and then you have to just insert it. And it's not very satisfying. The whole point of this toy is to feel cool, to feel satisfying. With the Legendary Morpher, with those keys, you could literally just jam those things in there, spin them, and you could be as rough as you want. I don't think you have that with the rubbery key and the guided path. You really have to be careful when you're inserting the keys each time. There's also kind of a lack of little sound effects that I think we have gotten really used to with Bondi. For example, when you turn on the Morpher, it just feels weird that there's not like an activation sound. Something that this one does, when you turn it on, you just get that little sound effect that lets you know the Morpher's on. That's kind of satisfying. That's something that we get used to, so I think in a later release, I'd like to see that. I think the roll call is a little weird, and for example, when you insert the key, it says Beast Morpher Red, and then you'll hit It's Morphin' Time, and then you get the song, and that's it. Again, if they're wanting to make a satisfying toy, I think you should put the key in, get the activation sound, morph, and then hear the actual name, the roll call. Beast Morpher Red, Beast Morpher Yellow, Beast Morpher Blue. To me, that just feels more satisfying. I don't know if it's because I'm used to it. It's too early to tell if I prefer that just because I'm used to Bondi. Those are just my little suggestions. Again, I really like this Morpher. I love the strap. It's much more comfortable. I like that it's actually bigger than the Japanese version, and it does kind of, in some way, feel like it would last longer than the Japanese version. But yeah, overall, I enjoy it, guys. What did you think of this video review? Are you going to pick up any of the Beast Morpher toys? Let me know in the comments down below. And be sure to follow me for the latest Power Ranger Beast Morpher reviews and all sorts of other videos. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to check out the next video coming out one of these days, eventually. And I'll see you all in the next video.